Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. The universal handle for the socials is @Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. So welcome. We are probably about a week late on getting back to you, a week later than we'd like, but took a minute for the news to build. There's the signature crack, and now we know the show has officially started, right, Joe?
That's about it.
We were gonna have Paul Esden on from Inside Site Expert for Inside the Loud House on, and I asked him today. I said, "Hey, what's going on with Boeheim's Army? We have the votes. We can add another player. What's going on with this?" I saw Andrew White, an article on him saying he might have a shot with the Knicks, and he was like one of the leading contenders for that. And so I was like, man, what the hell's going on? So I reached out to Paul today. We were gonna have him on. He could only make a small window anyway, but he did say big news is about to drop. It's ready to drop tomorrow morning inside the Loud House. I'll post it Saturday morning, that is, because we're recording somewhat late on Friday evening. So
yes.
I'll post it as soon as we know. So we got a little something going on for Boeheim's Army. Unfortunately, we didn't have him on, but maybe we'll have him on later to talk about that. Maybe sometime next week. So we've got the Italy trip to talk about. We've got Josh Iola. I hope that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Became a verbal commit. But before we get into all that stuff, we got to talk about the good folks over at SeatGeek. And like I told you, their app, what it does is it scans the web for the best deals for you. If you're looking for tickets to anything, it will scan the web for you. And what it does is it rates them on a scale from 0 to 10. And not only will it rate them on a scale from 0 to 10, but it'll also mark them with a color coordination. Green dot, that's a great deal. Yellow dot, that's an okay deal. And, of course, the red dot is a not-so-good deal. But use promo code ACAA at checkout and receive $20 off your first purchase. Take that money and maybe buy yourself a beer, a soda, or a hot dog, whatever you want to do. That's promo code ACAA at checkout. Get that $20 off your first purchase. And, like we always say, SeatGeek, life's an event, and we have the tickets. So,
yes, sir.
Where shall we? Josh Iola? He verbally committed to Syracuse football, 6'3", 280 pounds. He's out of Charlotte, Joe, in your area. Rated 3 stars by 247. And he was also offered by Illinois, Colorado State, Hawaii, East Carolina, Kent State, among others. He's offensive lineman. I think he's a versatile offensive lineman is what I've read. And his quote for choosing Syracuse was, quote, "I choose Syracuse because I felt it was the best decision for me and my family. I have a chance to provide for my family and get us out of a situation the Syracuse coaching staff made me feel at home." How many times, Joe, do we hear these kids committing to this football team based on the coaches and how they felt, and it felt like home? And it's just, that's crucial. That is crucial. And how many, too, have said things like, my mom loved it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. That stuff's huge. Every different recruit has things that sway them more or less, So when you get recruits that really need to feel like a family atmosphere, then that obviously has helped us out. So, and one of my buddies from work, he said Mallard Creek High School down North Carolina in Charlotte, where he's from, they put out some good players, some good college players. So hopefully he can be one of the next ones from there and help us out. So 6'3", 280, it's pretty good size from the beginning. Again, we talk about offensive linemen usually need a year to bulk up, but again, pretty good get. Yeah. I always want to have a deep offensive line.
Yeah, got to have the key to. This is a 2020 recruit. It's 11th 2020 recruit, actually. And, we're not going to get to see him for a bit. But the key to DeVito's success is that offensive line. And obviously crucial, getting some good talent in there.
Keeping him upright. Yep.
That's right. Speaking of recruits, Bryce Gowdy, he's a top Syracuse target for 2020 as well. And he has a commitment date set. Deerfield Beach, Florida. He's a high schooler, rising senior, I suppose. He's a wide receiver. He'll announce his decision on July 30th. He tweeted on Tuesday, this past Tuesday here, and he's rated 4 stars. So by 247 Sports composite rating, and is ranked 56th best player at his position. That's big time. That is big time.
And ranked 51st in the state of Florida. Which Florida, I mean,
they're pumping him out.
Oh, state of Florida pumps out. Yeah, D1 recruits all over the place, and to be 51 overall, and then obviously you said 56 overall in for the country in his position, that's pretty good. That'd be obviously the best recruit that we had got verbal so far this year. But we have a couple other 4-stars that we're going after too. But for this guy to be the first guy to get down to his top 5 and choosing between us and then West Virginia, Georgia Tech, I think Oregon and Penn State are his 5. So there's definitely some formidable teams in there. Crystal Ball 247 Sports says it's 100% Georgia Tech, but
wow, really?
Again, we'll see. Yeah, well, Georgia Tech, they're Paul Johnson got fired, so they're getting away from that option. Yeah, so this year might be a tough year because they might not have all the players, and they're going to be going through a transition, but they're going to be changing their offense and their look, so it's going to be a little different for Georgia Tech. But this guy would obviously be huge. Watching his tape, I mean, being 6'2", almost 200 pounds, he's bigger than the corners. He's got a nice stride, some speed, but I mean, his ball skills, his hands are just so strong. That's the one thing that I noticed. So this would be a really, really good find for us. And again, it's only a matter of time before we start getting those type of receivers. We've seen all these stats that these receivers coming out of Syracuse almost every year since Babers has been here. So the proof is in the pudding, and eventually I believe that we're going to see more higher ranked receivers coming to Syracuse because they see that they can get their stats up and actually be. I mean, Amba Atao wasn't sniffing the NFL till that year he came here. So proof is in the pudding, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we could potentially have a laser arm quarterback too come in, and we don't know for sure, but I've seen
I think
Vito's tape coming in. I remember watching his tape a couple years ago coming in and seeing him in just playing around. Accurate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you don't make the Elite 11 competition in high school without it being accurate and having a strong arm. So, and we saw the strong arm last year. So, again, we've talked about it. It's going to be a different new look offense, and I like our receivers coming back, but none of them were as highly touted as this one. So, just to see the more talented receivers starting to take notice, it's just gets me pumped up, buddy. You know me.
Yeah. We still got a couple more months of summer left. Joe?
Hey,
I'm already about it. As the news kind of dwindled the past couple weeks, not a whole lot going on. Even if you scroll through all the major websites, there's some gaps in between stories for football and basketball. So, I mean, that's why we haven't been here. But, let it build up a little bit. We do what we can. So, anyway, moving on. I guess we committed the ACC, or was it the NCAA or the ACC? Committed for 6 years. 2020 through 2025, right? Those 6 years for the bowl games. And the ACC added one. And I think that one was that the one in.
Well, that's the whole NCAA. Yeah.
Okay. That was the one in Jacksonville, right? Or no, Boston. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they added another. Yeah, they added another bowl, and there's a possibility for us to get an Outback Bowl bid as well. But, yeah, there's a lot of guaranteed bowls. Sometimes it's just the luck of the draw because the semifinal games for the college football championship, the Final Four. That takes up 2 of the traditional big bowl type games. So like last year, one of the semifinals was the Orange Bowl. So therefore, ACC didn't get the representation like that. So the second place ACC team didn't get that representation in a big bowl game like they usually did in the New Year. So it goes off and on. So this year, it just so happens that the Orange Bowl is not one of the semifinals. So what happens is, the Orange Bowl is an automatic ACC bid, even if, let's say, a Clemson makes it to the Final Four, the playoffs, then they're going to go do their thing, and then I think it's the next highest ranked team in the ACC will get that Orange Bowl bid.
So it could be. I mean, at the very least, I mean, you set your expectations somewhere. You can set your expectations on an Orange Bowl bid too.
Well, I mean, and that's the one thing you look at is I don't know if it would have been given to Pittsburgh last year if this was the situation, but going into the bowl games last year, we were the second best team in the ACC, I believe. So, when these type of years come up, like, if we do fall to Clemson, but we kind of stay where our expectations are and we end up being the second ranked team in the ACC, there's a possibility that we can get that Orange Bowl bid. So,
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So this year, I mean, with so many affiliated bowls, for the ACC, if Clemson, who most people think is going to make that Final Four, then that just means that, the ACC teams get bumped up. So we might be looking, if we do what we did last year, or even maybe one game less, it still doesn't matter depending on what the ACC does. If we did what we did last year, we might be seeing ourselves being in a more prestigious bowl than we were last year. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that it for football, Joe? That's it for football.
No, Syracuse.com. Yeah, Syracuse.com today, they came out with an article about how ESPN and their projection of the season or whatever they have in the Power Index, they have Syracuse as the favorite in 9 out of 12 games. So, but at the same time, in that article, it does explain that in that same simulation where they like simulate these variables, and I'm sure it's some huge algorithm, whatever, but
yeah,
they did do something like 10,000 times or something in that same algorithm. Like we average between 6.7 to 5.3 wins. So however you want to take that, it looks like we're going to be favored in games, but then at the same time, those simulations and the way they do it, I think they look at it like I think we lose a lot of closer games that we were favored in. So,
you know who Phil Steele is, right?
Yeah.
The college football. Well, this is another thing I wanted to talk to Paul about, and we will. But he predicted 9-10 wins again for Syracuse, and I mean his preseason football book,
right,
is a pretty popular thing every year. So he did not have his preseason rank though, and we kind of slid a little bit there.
Well, yeah, and that's basically, again, that just comes down to the fact that you need to repeat this type of things to actually get people to, as SU fans, we're going to gain the expectations, but for outsiders, the big sports, ESPN, all those guys, and then people like Phil Steele, and to get them locked in and convinced, you have to do it more than 1 year. So
that's consistency, man.
Yeah, at the end of the year, you saw we were, top 25, and then as the first couple preseason rankings came in, we started sliding. We were in there and we were sliding, and for no reason, we just kept sliding because these guys like other teams that have been more consistent better. So again, kind of just going back and falling on the radar, and hopefully Dino Babers can turn that around and make the team feel like it's a slap in the face and go out and prove something, because we do have a very favorable schedule. I'll say it over and over again. You're going to hear it for the next 2 months.
Are you worried about that Auburn transfer to Liberty quarterback?
I don't, especially coming in. I mean, it's before camp, but he didn't get to really do spring ball or anything like that. So, it's cutting it. It's cutting it close.
This season.
Yeah, first game of the season, and I'm gonna probably be willing to bet, especially considering we're probably gonna be chomping at the bit, like probably willing to say that Liberty's offensive line probably isn't gonna be
defense. It's
gonna be the best offensive line that we go against this year.
Sure.
So this guy, but he's also a dual threat. So depending on what this guy can do on his feet, who knows? But who knows if they have anybody else waiting in the wings, and the guy doesn't even start. That just made big news because it's just a transfer from Auburn. So you never know.
Liberty, sure. And are you worried about a dual threat right now like we were in the past? I mean,
no.
You got the secondary, so you can easily cover a dual threat quarterback now. Well, not easy, but I mean easier than we used to be able to, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're talking people like Lamar Miller, then I'll always be afraid because you see what he's doing in the NFL. But most dual threat quarterbacks don't do that. And like you said, yes, right now, I mean, I'm not too worried because of the fact that obviously our team's proven to be just better coached, and we're getting bigger, faster, stronger with the conditioning coach and the strength and conditioning coach in the offseason. So these are just things that are just obvious to see for the last 3 years. And we just don't give up those bonehead plays. We don't miss a lot of assignments. You can tell that Dino Babers, he holds everybody accountable. And now we're starting to get the depth to where you have to be accountable and do your job or else. So
You yanked.
Yank.
All right, so we will switch gears here to a little bit of basketball news, but before we do that, we're going to talk about my bookie. And it's summertime. It's the best time of year. I think hands down, it's absolutely, I mean, it goes summer, Christmas, and then summer. Those are my top 3 seasons.
Oh, God.
So,
Sorry.
talking vacation, beach, sun, and of course sports. So while you're sipping on your favorite beverage by the pool, why not get a little action on the game? Whether you like MLB, MMA, golf, or anything else, MyBookie is the place to bet. Their mobile site is easy to use and allows you to make bets from anywhere, no hassle, no waiting in line, and no need to get off the couch. Now is the perfect time to replenish your bank account after that vacation and make sure you've got plenty of bankroll come football season. You want to drop futures? They got those. You can bet on your back your favorite player to win the Heisman, any of that stuff. All those props are up there, and MyBookie wants you to have as much fun as possible this summer. And what's more fun than winning money while watching sports, Joe, right? So just visit MyBookie.
Not a whole lot.
Today and get started and try your luck at outsmarting the odds makers. But wait, if you deposit using promo code Cuse25 today, MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code Cuse25 at MyBookie. You play, you win, you get paid. And as always, if you've never bet online before, research it, see if it's right for you. If you have bet online before, you know what you're getting into. Head over to MyBookie if you're going to do it. So thank you to MyBookie. Now, off the cuff here, just did you happen to catch any? My son called me this morning. I was at work. I was at work in a meeting, and he called. Yeah. I took his call anyway because I didn't know if something was wrong, right?
Right.
And he's like, I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, I was just sitting here watching Sports Center, and I saw Grayson Allen had 2 flagrant fouls in the summer league last night and got ejected. It's the 3rd ejection of the year for the summer league. I mean,
really?
Yeah, that's what he told me. That's what he told me. I went, but he definitely got ejected last night after 2 flagrants.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And it was brutal.
It was the same guy. He's just like, I don't know.
Is he just that impulsive? Like he can't control himself or what?
It must be. I don't know. Because he lets some picks and back screens get a, and he's just swinging his arm like he's trying to spike the volleyball.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, I proposed the question over at Cuse Militia on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
I would love to read these. I said fill in the blank. Grayson Allen is a.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
Most of it's rated R.
I was trying to get some fan feedback for the show, but you're going to have to go over there and check those out for yourselves. If you're looking for new insults, our Cuse Militia never lets us down. Because I saw some that I haven't heard in a long time, or B, are just I've flat out never heard, or 3, hilarious.
You should have known what you were getting yourself into right there.
You're right. You're probably right. I know. Absolutely.
I mean, it's a Duke player.
I know. It's just I figured
it was still great. It was good.
So the Italy trip, Joe, it's going to start August 10th through August 20th. And we have games. Syracuse Orange have games on the 12th, 14th, the 17th, and the 18th, and against obviously a variety of international Italian national opponents. So
where are they again?
I didn't write that down. I could go back in my notes and look it up.
No. You're good.
Okay, if you want to know, it's about 3 episodes ago. You can watch me or hear me struggle. And by the way, if this all goes well, this goes on YouTube. So our first video podcast, and we'll see how that goes.
Right. So
if you're listening on like you normally do, and you don't ever go to YouTube, maybe check it out. We might be there. Who knows? So unless one of us, has an edit, because I can't video edit. So, things happen. But anyway, my point about bringing this up was that I was reading that he did an interview with Syracuse.com where he was talking about, playing around with man-to-man and how, these extra reps are basically going to help him and his team, figure it out, that he really wouldn't try it during the season, but he's going to try it out. Now, Joe, I'm just wondering, would you try it out with the expectations that you're just not going to use it?
I just feel like that'd be a waste of time.
Exactly. So what do you think? What do you think? He might mix it up. I mean, this is kind of, it's kind of bigger news than I think was really led on to believe almost. You know
Well,
what I mean?
you get the extra games,
You
and
get
with so many new people coming in,
right.
you don't really know what you can do.
Right.
So why wouldn't you expand your horizon at least and see what you're capable of? I mean, any smart coach, that's what they would do in the beginning or off season, whenever you can, against decent competition and obviously in practice and stuff. But you see what your team is good at. See what they're not good at. If they're not good at something, you're not going to do it. And we know that he recruits to the 2-3, but that's not to say that those players can't play man. So again, if he can
Most of them probably already have, right? I mean, most of them probably.
Yeah.
Likely.
I mean, these kids if you're going to be a college basketball player, you probably played basketball for a long time at this point, and you've played it all, So, but again, obviously, we mostly play 2-3, and I don't see that changing. He talked about how they were going to put in some new plays and possibly change their press as well. So he's just got so many it was so much turnaround. He's got so many new players that why not you have the 4 games to just not really screw around, but, fiddle with stuff, experiment with some stuff, put in different lineups, see who gels good with other players and stuff like that. You've seen teams in the past come in and completely sub out a 5. And if we have enough players that could do that to where we could sub out those type of players and maybe bring in the players that can play man-to-man or certain presses and stuff like that, I mean, you have to see what you get and see how you can use it. So these 4 games.
These overseas trips, they're huge. It's
right.
4 games.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's all, getting team chemistry. Again, when you go on these trips, most of the time you're doing things together all the time. You're staying with another, so
yeah. So
again,
kill each other or get or have a bond, right? So it's one
right, but either way, you got to get that stuff out of the air out your dirty laundry. You get it done early, you figure everything out, and then you move forward, because at the end of the day, all everyone wants to do is win. So. Right. If that kind of stuff happens, brothers fight, teammates fight, that happens. But at the end of the day, that the number one goal is winning. So you got to figure it out. And that's damn sure Jim Boeheim's number one goal. So
absolutely. I mean, you replaced 80% of your starting lineup this year, and, that's a perfect time to go do something like that. And I think I have a lot of faith in this team. I think that I didn't set expectations. I just feel like that, especially with something like this, I just feel like that this team, I don't know. I'm excited about it. Let's just put it that way. Maybe it's the change. There's so much that's changed, and I'm just anticipating it so much. Like, I'm just so excited to see what happens. So as soon as that stuff is announced, as far as streaming or where we can find all that stuff, I'll post it on Twitter or Facebook. Oh, yeah. And we'll be up on that, because I'm really excited. Still about a month away, but I'm super excited about it. It'd be really fun to watch. So.
Yeah, well, again, everyone wants to get a first glance, and we're still going to have 2 exhibition games like we normally do after that. So you're talking 6 exhibition games that we can get before the first game of the season against Virginia in the Carrier Dome, which is just weird. But either way.
Do you like that early conference game like that?
I don't know, because if we can pull it together and do something. I mean, Virginia is losing a lot of guys too, so who knows? Maybe playing them early helps. Who knows? But
I could argue that both ways.
You could, absolutely, but they added conference games, and for some reason they moved them up closer to the beginning. I don't know if that has something to do with the fact that they want students to be at the Dome when they play that type of game. That could definitely maybe be that, because we usually miss the fans in a lot of the non-conference games around the holidays. So to have that early game, conference game, maybe that's why.
Yeah, but 2 exhibition games once against, was it Damon and
Carleton? Yeah. So
and then, boom, Virginia.
Right. Boom. Yeah, that usually doesn't. And then what? Seattle. But I mean, it's
whole day.
Oh yeah. So. But again, when you get these teams and you get this type of turnaround again, like you said, it's just fun, because I bet you could poll so many random Syracuse fans and ask, like, who do you think is going to be the surprise, or who are you most intrigued to? And there could be 8 to 10 different answers, maybe even more.
And I mean, it's like with you and and with like the people who listen to this show, these are the hardcore of hardcore Syracuse fans. I mean, you're not listening to a Syracuse sports podcast because you're a fair weather fan. So they've heard about him. We've heard about him. We've talked about him, and we just want to see him play.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the anticipation of watching these guys. It's the same thing with the football team, but I feel like the basketball team is just always, it's more, you're talking about 5 guys on the court at a time,
Right. Well, it's different because you have smaller rosters. And
exactly. That's my point.
Again, right. And again, too, very much, I mean, most of the time, true freshmen aren't expected to really do too. I mean, some are in football, but most of the time, true freshmen aren't really expected to really do too much their true freshman season, other than maybe help special teams and stuff like that. Now, obviously, we had a true freshman All-American last year, so it kind of goes against everything I just said. But for the most part, you know what I mean? When you're talking about, look, you have a recruiting class of 20 to 25 guys, and you have 2 or 3 that really help. When basketball, we have 5 guys who every single one of them may possibly be able to help. And we don't know what our bench from last year and the guys that were there last year that are the sophomores and stuff are going to do. So there's just so many options, and the possibilities are endless. And eventually the cream's going to rise to the crop. But I don't think we have any idea who that's going to be. So that's what's exciting and fun about it.
You might go over any of this NIT preseason tournament, open that up against Oklahoma State. So. Right.
Oklahoma State really wasn't too great last year, but I know that they're returning a couple of the leading scores.
A couple. So let's see. Georgetown, December 14th. That's another big one on there.
Yep. Iowa, December 3rd. That's the ACC Big Ten Challenge. At least we get it at home. They're going to be a decent squad. So
Cornell, the November 20th.
Bucknell. Yeah. I mean, we still got some, we finished with Oakland, North Florida, Niagara.
Yeah.
Let's see if we beat Oklahoma. The NIT season tip-off, that's a little 4-team playoff thing there in the Barclays Center. So we play Oklahoma State the first night, and then losers play losers and winners play winners against but the opposite game is Penn State and Mississippi. So we're going to have 2 Power 5 games right there. So
could be really good for the net, especially with Virginia in there and some of that going on. So
yeah. I mean, it's tough because it's the first year when you don't know how this is going to affect the that kind of stuff, because again you figure if we're adding more conference games, you're taking away maybe a lesser non-conference game, so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying we're just playing an extra conference game versus maybe a gimme lower Division I team, so maybe that helps the strength of schedule and everything like that. But
Duke once got to face Virginia at home. Duke, the only Duke game in the regular season is at the Dome.
Right.
So those have kind of been a toss-up no matter where they are, though.
Right.
But
and we do have some favorable. Well, we have some favorable 2 games too. I mean, we played Boston College twice. We play
Notre Dame twice, Pittsburgh twice,
Virginia twice, and Virginia Tech twice. Which Virginia Tech's supposed to have a down year too. So, I mean, realistically, either between Pittsburgh and Notre Dame, that's like one of those 2 teams is the best team that we play twice. So we have a pretty favorable conference schedule, I would say, as well. Other than Virginia, obviously Virginia is the best team there, but then Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. So we have a favorable conference schedule. So it's not the craziest gauntlet for this young team that we have, but I'll tell you what, usually the thing that's going to be tough for me, and I think another reason why this Italy trip is going to be huge, is because usually when you notice in the beginning of the year, Boeheim, he plays a lot of people, almost everybody, especially in the beginning of the year with non-conference games, because he's trying to figure out this and that. Well, you can't really do that against Virginia the first game of the season. You kind of need to know what you're going to war with in that situation. So
yeah,
that's another reason I think why Italy, that trip is going to be huge. So I would definitely say that this year, more than not, these 6 preseason games, I would say that what you see is probably what you're going to get, especially in the first game, until he can get to maybe some lower competition to figure some stuff out. But I tell you, some of these other teams that we're playing, Bucknell, some of these, Colgate, Cornell, like you said, they've made the tournament in their conference. Oakland's been a pretty good team in their conference, so never know. But
never know. Either way, it's fun to talk about. And that's why.
Yeah.
So, hey, we'll be back as soon as we can. I may do some kind of bonus thing if Joe and I can get Paul on sometime this upcoming week. We'll try to figure something out and see what happens. Be on the lookout for the Boeheim's Army news that's going to break tomorrow morning. You can go to Inside the Loud House yourself and check it out. Or, of course, I'll share it. So, and we wanted to talk to him about that. We have a spot for an extra player. We have the votes. Who's that player going to be? It's almost time to start this thing. So that's pretty cool. To something to look forward to this weekend. So that is it. I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank SeatGeek, MyBookie. I want to thank Armchair All-Americans. I want to thank James on guitar. Again, thank you to all of you. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.